Avi, I want you right here beside me. And I will invite everybody, if you want to stand with us today, come on up and stand with us. It's okay. Come on up. We're all going to make a stand together. Yeah, we're all going to make a stand. Yeah, stand right here, Avi. I just heard from Avi, and I'm going to tell a little bit of his story a little bit. Yeah, spread out, spread out. We're all standing together, and I'm grateful that you're joining us today, because it's time to put an end to what's happening. Targeted, harassed, violently ambushed. It's shocking that in 2024, students are unable to walk between classes or to the dining hall or to the cafeteria, but it's the reality for Jewish students in America. Attacks. We've seen a rise in anti-Semitic acts on colleges and university campuses, as well as K-12 schools. So far that we know about, 246 horrific incidents have been reported in K-12 schools, a number that is unacceptable and deeply concerning. Let's be clear, the rise in vile hatred incidences on college and university campus didn't come out of anywhere. It's got its roots in K-12 schools, and you saw firsthand flying the flag of Palestine above a high school. That is letting hatred take root. I just talked to Avi, Avi's in 6th grade, attending school in Montgomery County, and it's hard enough being a kid in middle school today. You shouldn't have to worry, as Avi does, just going to class. Am I going to suffer violence or being bullied today? So today we've invited, as Nikki has already said, the head of these large school districts where we know there's a lot of incidents. So we're going to let them say, what are you doing to keep students safe, and how have you responded? Now, we have to look at two things. We know that university presidents can talk a good game, and that's what they did. They came here and talked a good game, but we know better. We have to look at their actions, because Columbia President Shafiq talked about she's got everything under control and it's a safe campus, but then the video and students and your testimony points to a very different story. So we're going to be listening to them today, but more importantly, we're going to be watching them, what they do afterwards. We've got a great team up here on a committee. Dr. Fox runs a very tight ship, and so I'm honored to be a part of it, but there are others, and it's my pleasure to introduce another teammate from the great state of Utah, Mr. Burgess Owens.
Thanks, my friend. That was a good move. I like that. I'm going to kind of wrap this up. I'm going to read a few prepared remarks. I'm going to wrap it up by my personal experience, because I've seen this before. I grew up in Deep South in the 60s, days of KKK, Jim Crow, and segregation. I was one of 4 black athletes to first integrate an all-white school, the 3rd black athlete to go to university. System, not just college campuses, but it seeped its way into K-12 classrooms. And these are kids I'm talking about next few seconds. Recently, 40 to 50 teens marched through high school chanting Palestine, waving a Palestine flag, chanting "Death to Israel, kill the Jews." A teacher was forced to hide as a mob of high school students stormed the building and for 2 hours demanded they should be fired after posting a support for Israel on social media. Several high schools have been defaced with swastikas. A high school principal, an anti-Semitic bigot, praised student protesters after a report that they were chanting "Bring back Hitler." At a middle school walkout in October, students, these are kids, chanting "Kill the Jews, F the Jews, F Israel, KKK, kill Israel." Imagine this hate in people this young. There's a purpose, and it's happening on purpose. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. These students have been given were given excused absences by the activist teachers, contrary to school policy. This indoctrination is happening right now in our classroom and campuses across our country. The slow march of Marxism has radicalized our young people who grow up, enter the classroom to teach, and radicalize young people. They teach bigotry. They create an unsafe learning environment for not only our Jewish students, but for every student that's trying to learn. And most importantly, up till now, these Marxist activists have been given zero accountability. There's a new sheriff in town, the House Republican majority. If these school districts won't shut down this insanity and keep our students safe, our Education Workforce Committee will. It's called Oversight and the Power of the Purse. Both decades overdue. I want you guys to notice the disrespect, the anger, the vitriol, desire to destroy, the arrogance and entitlement that's coming out through our young people. This has to stop, and we're going to stop it by making sure that we get our education back on order, to teach the American way, our values, faith, family, free market education, and the dangers of Marxism, communism, all those things that hate our nation. So I want to thank these folks for coming up, particularly young people. Thank you for your courage, for standing for what you know is right, and believe me, courage is contagious, so keep it going. My good friend Tim Walberg, when you coming up.
Thank you, Burgess, and I want to identify with the remarks of all of my colleagues as well. And I want to identify with the remarks of a young man that I met today and his mother. The fact that they've had to go through an experience that they've gone through simply because they were Jewish is wrong. I will never forget the love that I experienced from my Aunt Della Goldberg, a Jewess who fled the Holocaust. And fortunately, Harvey Wallenberg in Sweden was able to bring Jews into Sweden. And my Aunt Della Goldberg met my Uncle Henry Larson, and ultimately they came to the United States. They came loving the opportunity, loving freedom, and the ability to do what God intended them to do. And so when we come now to a situation where it's come to light that through years of effort behind the scenes, in sinister ways, we've seen people trained in critical theory that treats people as oppressors or the oppressed, and forgets to talk about the freedom, that opportunity, an opportunity that brings to all people. The one race, the human race. Now we are in a situation because of that. And it's time to put the brakes on. It's time to say no further. It's time to push back. I think of what we've seen up close and personal, whether it's on TV or whether it's on our social media, constantly over the course of the past 2 weeks especially. We've seen students vilified simply because they were Jewish. And we've seen some vilified because they were willing to stand with their Jewish peers. And I think of the oppressor fact of being in a classroom when you have a professor that is telling you that Hamas is right and Israel is wrong. Israel is evil and Hamas is good. And you have a Jewish student sitting there in that classroom next to a Gentile student, and maybe that Gentile student would like to stand up, but he or she knows that their academic career is on the line. And the chilling factor that is. Well, these same students who have been radicalized are now teaching in our K-12 system. So is it surprising that we see what's going on in the K-12 system in our country today? It has to stop. I say to you, as parents, remember you are the #1 most important teacher of your student, your child. Why? Because you're a parent. I had 3 kids. I still have 3 kids. But I never relinquished my authority as the teacher of my kids, nor did my wife. And so we changed schools when we needed to. Not all students have that opportunity. Parents, thank you for standing. We will stand with you as well. Never again should be our cry. But never again can't simply be a cry. There has to be action. And so I concur that it goes down to the funding, it goes down to policy, it goes down to shutting doors if we have to, and saying no, we're not going to accept that. I appreciate parents defending freedom in all areas, whether we define male and female, or whether we define human race, including Jews and all of the rest of us. I thank God that he gives us that opportunity. Let's stand together. Thank you.
It's now my great honor to introduce parents and students from the districts that are going to be called to testify today, from Berkeley Unified School District in California, New York City Public Schools, and Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland. They have been failed by their school districts, as they will tell you. We are so thankful for their bravery in speaking out this morning. So I'd like to welcome up Alana Perlman from California, a mother of a high schooler and 2 elementary school students, Nissan Safonov, a junior at Stuyvesant High School in New York City, Milo Smolansky, a junior at Stuyvesant High School in New York City, and Brooke Michelle, a teacher in Montgomery County Public Schools.
So I'm here today representing Berkeley, California parents, Berkeley, California Jewish parents who have been failed by our local district and leaders in California to help us amplify the message of anti-Semitism in our schools and speak out against it. I think it's very telling that I feel more comfortable being here today, potentially speaking in front of thousands of people, than I do entering a school board meeting where people mock me, jeer at me, and do all of these things when I'm simply sharing stories of anti-Semitism impacting my children and other children in our schools. We have been undermined in horrible ways. We have been not believed. Our school district has told us, whenever we say this happened at a school walkout, or they said kill the Jews at a school walkout, they have actively chosen to not believe us, which means they are calling our children liars. So as a Jewish mother, that is unacceptable to me. I'm speaking up not just for my kids who are incredibly resilient and strong, but for all kids in America who maybe aren't able to speak out the way that I have the opportunity to do right now, nor should they have to. We are the parents, we are the adults in the room, and what I'm tired of is seeing adult leaders, superintendents, school board members, centering themselves as the victims in this horrific anti-Semitism that we're seeing in schools, especially at a time when our Berkeley family and friends in Israel have been slaughtered and kidnapped. Currently being held is one of our own Berkeley-born and raised Hirsch Goldberg Paulin. He's being held in Gaza, and I'm here today also on behalf of him and our friends and family who are very connected to him, and our students that have to be amongst all of this hate when they're just at school to learn. And Berkeley Unified picked a side on October 7th, and I recognize that, and the only posters that we see are anti-Israel. And that's terrifying for Jewish students, 89% of whom, of all Jews, believe that Israel has a right to exist. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Nissan Safonov, and I'm a Jewish student at Stuyvesant High School. Today, I'm here to voice the distress echoing through the halls of our schools in New York City concerning the ability of students like me to express our Jewish identity. My parents and grandparents experienced discrimination in the former Soviet Union and moved to the United States to ensure their children could live free and proud of their Judaism. Throughout my life, I have felt privileged to live in this country without facing the prejudice and the discrimination that my parents dealt with. I have felt secure about my religious identity. My very own brother was afraid to go to school because of the mob of protesters. A Brooklyn police officer I spoke to witnessed a Jewish student's yarmulke taken from his head and tossed like a frisbee by his peers. As this young man was so brazenly disrespected, what actions did the administration take to stop the assault of someone whose only crime was practicing their religion? They responded with indifference, allowing this hate-fueled desecration of Judaism and the students' rights to go utterly unremarked and unpunished. These were not just isolated acts, but reflections of a larger propensity for anti-Semitism. There's a double standard or a rhetoric and actions that would be widely condemned if directed at any other marginalized group were given a pass when their target was the Jewish minority, and sadly, this has been demonstrated at my school. In February, our school's newspaper, the Stuyvesant Spectator, represented this double standard by publishing an anonymously written defamatory article about Israel, its people, the U.S. government, for supporting Israel and the Jewish people. The author repeats anti-Israel propaganda, including the lies that Israel forced sterilizations of Ethiopian Jews and kidnapped Palestinian children. The author denounced the Israeli military operation against Hamas, but never condemned Hamas for attacking and killing 1,200 people. To my peers' credit, they later issued a correction for some of these lies, but not all. The lies spread in my school newspaper are also spread through social media and biased news outlets, which many students rely on and use as a basis for anti-Israel protests in NYC schools. This is the weaponization of anti-Semitism, as Israel is the only Jewish state. The NYC officials, including Chancellor Banks, were not readily prepared to fight nor address this anti-Semitism, which allowed toxic anti-Jewish sentiment to creep into our schools. At schools across all 5 boroughs, Jews like me are treated unfairly, and we are left to fend for ourselves against wrongful accusations without any support from New York City public officials. My few requests of Congress are simple ones. Provide an environment where Jewish students feel safe and can openly embrace our Jewish identity without fear. Provide us an environment where we can experience the same basic rights and human dignity they would instinctively uphold for any other student group. Act against disinformation, especially the disinformation that weighs on young minds, by teaching proper historical education in our schools that informs students of the actual historic events and debunks the myths spread through social media. Until these fundamental requests are upheld and protected, promises of equal access to quality education for all children ring hollow. I should not have to bargain away my culture, deny my heritage and identity as the price for learning. We humbly ask for justice and mutual respect on this urgent issue. Thank you for listening.
I am Milo Smolansky. I am a student at Stuyvesant High School in New York City. I am a proud Jew and an active member of the Stuyvesant Jewish Student Union. I stand before you today to speak about an issue that strikes at the heart of the Stuyvesant Jewish community, a story that will demand attention, outrage, and hopefully action. At Stuyvesant High School, a beacon of academic excellence in New York City for over a century, I'd hoped to find a community that stood against hatred in all its forms. But the events that transpired in recent times have shattered that illusion. A couple of months ago, our school newspaper, the Stuyvesant Spectator, a platform meant to inform, to educate, to unite, published a despicable hit piece against Israel, the only Jewish state in the world. The absurd lies in this article ranged from accusations of forced sterilization to accusations of mass child abduction. As I and my fellow Jewish students read this blood libel in our school newspaper, we were shocked with a profound sense of isolation as we realized that the ugly cancer that is Jew hatred is not only present within our own school walls, but authorized. Since October 7th, the Stuyvesant Jewish community has had to endure from our own peers, including school-sanctioned clubs, denial of the indisputable and well-documented rape and slaughter of Israeli civilians on October 7th, justifications of the massacre as legitimate and deserved behavior within mere days of the massacre. We were told that the Israeli hostages suffering at the hands of Hamas are being taught manners, that their suffering is more than deserved. We were told that we Jews think the world revolves around us, and we were even called Zionist pigs. The peers who have made these disgusting statements are the same peers we have to face every day in our classrooms, on our teams, and in our clubs. Between mid-October and March, a number of students and parents brought all of this to the school administration's attention at several meetings with the principal and numerous assistant principals. When we offered them countless solutions, when we told them we do not feel safe at school on a daily basis, when we implored them to do something, anything, we were met with nothing but cold indifference. We were ignored in our time of need, turned away by a phony administration, willing only to listen passively, but never speak, let alone act. Both parents and students then pleaded with the superintendent's office, and then produced a dossier for the chancellor's office, including the Spectator article and many documented instances of anti-Semitic harassment. But it was all in vain. You may think that what I've told you here today is just the testimony of one student at one school. However, this is all but a microcosm of a far more pervasive issue tormenting the entire New York City public school system. Therefore, we have been left with no choice but to ask Congress to intervene. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Brooke Michelle, and I am a special education teacher at Paint Branch High School in the Montgomery County Public School Systems. I have been moved today by the courage of young students. As a teacher, of course, that's what we teach. We teach students the tools and the confidence to stand up for issues that are near and dear to them as well as the greater community. That is our job, to build community. That is what a school does. I'm going to share what happened to me. We've heard great testimony from parents, from students, but now I'm going to tell you what it's been like as a teacher having to work in an environment that has been anti-Semitic, not just anti-Israel, and the hardships that's come with it, including on my mental health. I volunteered very happily and eagerly to be the Muslim Student Association club sponsor at my school. My only goal, I wanted to bridge our two cultures to create a sense of community and create a strong stance against hatred in all forms. With them, I shared, I too know what it's like to be discriminated against for my religion and my culture. As a result of this, we worked well, the students were happy, and everything was great. Then October 7th happened. And then our student walkout happened. In November, our students, some in the MSA and some school-wide, they did a walkout in support of Palestine. As a public school teacher, I support our student in the right to exercise free speech. For we are a public school, and we are there for our students. However, unfortunately, some students in the crowd shouted comments like, "Bring back Hitler," and "Kill all the Jews." I reported these to my principal as they violated our hate and bias speech policy. I asked her also, just please send out a small note saying, we, Paint Branch at MCPS, do not condone any forms of speech hatred. And there is no tolerance for it in our schools. My request was denied, saying that there were not enough people in our school who were essentially offended by it to warrant an email. I just grit my teeth and bore it because I'm just a teacher. It escalated very quickly. I was then accused, written up as a punishment when word came out that there was an article created by a reporter, and I was accused of sharing personal information about my students, my school, my administrators to this reporter. That was false. I did no such thing. And the worst part was my administrators and my school leadership knew that I didn't, but still punished me anyway. I became a scapegoat. It was too perfect to have a Jewish teacher in charge of an MSA club. I just became their scapegoat. As a result, I became ostracized in my school, not only because it appeared that I had broken the trust of my students, their parents, and my colleagues. I was alone. I had no help in my school. This took a great toll on my mental health. Suddenly, as a teacher, I was taking days off, and my performance really suffered because of the strain. I was harassed at school. Walking into the building, would be pointed and ridiculed at by teachers, by students, by their parents. I had become a county-wide known, apparently a bigot, all because I just simply reported hate speech that our school and our county does not condone. I was so shocked. I was so surprised. I had nothing to do with anything shared in the article, but no one believed me. No one. We have come to a time where there is so much anti-Semitism. Our students don't feel safe in schools, and neither do the teachers. I am speaking on behalf of me as a Jewish teacher in Montgomery County. Last year, I worked at a different school in the county, and there too, I saw the anti-Semitism that was being covered up by our school administration. Before that, I taught in the state of Kansas. There too, I saw so much anti-Semitism, to the point where a student engraved in a desk a very anti-Semitic image of a Jewish person. It was horrible. How did that school respond? They simply took that wooden desk and threw it outside. It's just unacceptable. It is totally unacceptable that they're making us all learn and work in these hostile environments with no support. I am so glad today that the representatives of your schools, your California schools, and my school, today they will be forced to listen to all of our stories, to hear where they have failed. They cannot close their eyes, we will be watching them. They cannot turn the other cheek because the cameras will see it. They will be forced to sit and listen. They will be the ones silenced now instead of us. That truly is the most powerful thing that's going to happen today. We will make them listen, and then, God willing, they will invoke the change necessary for us to be able to continue and learn in what is supposed to be a safe place in our schools. I just want to conclude, like any good Jewish speech, with a story. That's what we have to do. Yesterday, I got out of a cab on my way to have dinner with my family, and the driver asked me if my father was Jewish. I very happily said yes. He asked me with the warmest smile and the kindest eyes if there was a prayer he could say for the Jewish people, for Judaism. And with tears in my eyes, I said, yes, please pray for peace. That is what we need the most right now. We need peace, but in order to get peace, we still need the people who they have to listen and they have to be held accountable. Thank you.
No, the members have to get to the hearing room because it starts in 10 minutes. Some of the families can take questions for the next couple of minutes, or if the reporters would like to find the families afterwards, we're more than happy to set that up as well. So thank you very much.